I think the world is a bit crazy about the technology, political system, and the people tribalism all going on. In the meantime, I also thought about my life. Maybe that current situation of the world triggered me, because I think calm and quiet mind is important, and I maintain that. To me, it's like an awakened state that you can feel whatever is happening, but you're not carried over. So whatever moves on may not reflect in the core of our being, except that the core of being is telling me a compassionate sense what can be done. And I share the idea of whatever's happening in my YouTube. And interestingly, people respond. These days, lots of Brazilians, for some reason, popped up and keep on encouraging me to talk and continue. From 17 years or so ago, I kept on going this way. So there's something resonating. And what it is it. How can I explain this? There's a state that we can exchange ideas and let that be. Openly question me. I think there was one guy who said something about, what should he do when he wants to go into this spiritual stuff, but he doesn't know. Any questions like that, they just openly ask me, and I respond, and that's it. Nothing more. So it's kind of like I call it the mirror mind, reflecting what's going on, and not determining what is to be done, but just leave it with the question and stay quiet. So it's the same as delusion, thinking, but not grab the idea and run, but just stay still, like we are the mirror. Observe it, may feel some pain or something, but not get carried over. I like that. If you get carried over, you build the fort or the defensive mechanism, do this, do that, and get tangled up in the process. Rather than that, just observe and maybe feeling a pain, but just be. Question there. So that's what I thought this morning, and I have more along this line of thought that I want to share. So let me continue with the next video. In the other video, I talked about just letting things be. Whatever we have in mind, we just observe and get into what that was. But let that be. So one of the examples is that when I do this YouTube and my eyes get tired and have enough, then I go for a swim. Lucky, I may go for a walk too. And I come up with ideas like taking a photo of the video mainly, so that I can share. And that's just a moment of life. So in the last few days, this is funny that I go to the same place to go swim, and it's beautiful, and maybe something to do that. Also, perhaps triggering the memory of my young days. This is, I counted, 55 years ago, or more. There's a lady I met, and I cannot tell if I did fall in love. I think we were in a wonderful relationship. That was at the beach, and I said, maybe we'll meet once more or something. And she said, why do you say just once more? And then this is a very traditional Japanese thing, and I was invited and had a dinner with her family, and it was just marvelous. And I felt like, wow, they are receiving me so well. And we get into this relationship, platonic, not the physical, but then because that's kind of traditional way, and we didn't have space to play around. So I had a friend who has a house in the mountain for skiing, so I managed to, convince that I can have this lady with me to visit. And then her family said, okay, you can go, but have this her brother to go with her to protect her so that I don't do anything nasty or natural. So one night we had a different room, and three of us, my friend and her brother and me, on this room, and her room next, and I'm sleeping. I did sleep, and then in the middle of the night I woke up. Then I sneaked into her room and we made love. What's so impressive was that when we had the occasion to make love, she was a virgin and she was crying. Meaning not sobbing, but tears coming out. And I don't know what to say, so I just let that be. And that's the event I thought about a couple, 3 times every day I go swimming. That she had such a, in my view, genuine heart and happy with me. But she was very quiet, always quiet. I went to Hawaii in summer, leaving her, and she gave me this something, how do you call it, carried like a necklace. And that was the silver block kind of thing. I could tell what it meant, that don't play around. Remember this silver block kind of thing, that we have this relationship or some basis. But she's not the one to talk, quiet. After a while, we broke up. We didn't, but her mother said she has to do study, and kind of pushed me away. A year or so later, I stopped by, and we still have this feeling, and we are together upstairs, and her mother came up so that we don't get tangled up again. So, noticing that, I left, and that was the end of it. Those things happen, and we accept and move on. That's the story. So when we talk about spirituality, doesn't matter what you call it. Here is the thing that I want to share, which is, I said example of this lady I had a relationship and her crying and all that. Not crying, but shedding tear after making love. That was the last video. And I said, we are silent and move on. The mother said this and that, and I stopped going. She was to graduate, and I was more of a disruption. So that changed the way of life, obviously, but acceptance. And in that acceptance is silence. And that's the important thing, that you don't get tangled up. So that's what I feel, that although I went through my life to explore the dimension of who am I and Zen and Shin Buddhism and so forth, what comes down to it is total acceptance of everything. The world may go crazy, relationship may not work, and there's that silence if we notice it. And when we notice it, I can now tie into this cicada. I posted a video. I don't remember that subject, but that Brazilian person commented. I have to dig up my memory what that story was. But it doesn't matter, that something connect to her. I knew that was a lady, and I made some comment, and that's it. So it's like each encounter of, let's say, the video I post and the people respond and communicate a little bit. There's that interaction. Given not knowing each other, but something resonates, we communicate. And leave it at that, because everybody move on in his or her life. And what we communicate is just a momentary statement of our mind that popped up, and then go back to what we do, as if we have communicated something. And that's good enough that we have the moment, because that moment is the moment of a clarification that, given the setting of what's going on, we accept it. And communication is not easy, but share something, because that's what you can do. Just like this relationship with this lady. Sometimes the encounter is brief and not too deep. Others could be more interesting in the sense of deeper connection at the heart level. It all depends, but the basis of that, of all that, if we have that calm, quiet mind, and maybe that's what I'm feeling, that, people respond to my video, and I respond to that, to every one of them, because there was that occasion, something is communicated. You cannot describe as well, but some may say, I love this man, or some such thing, and I'm very happy to hear that. And I respond, I don't know how I respond, but just to keep on having that sense of communication, whether, in a different level it happens. So what I feel is that from my younger days, I was having that state of mind, that I can relate to. And I want to talk more about it in the next video. So in the past few videos, I talked about the state of mind to accept and move on. Whether it's the situation of my encounter with this lady 55, 60 years ago, almost, with that moment that popped up now, all of a sudden, because there was a sense of genuine feeling, except that we didn't talk. And she was a quiet person. And I didn't know how to describe, because the environment set in such a manner that we just did what we did. And when we departed, we are just accepting it. Why didn't you do something else? You can talk like that. But some environment factor would bring us to be such a situation, and we're just silent. And that silence, acceptance, is, if you call that in the terms of spirituality, it's actually, there's a word called the mirror mind. Just looking yourself, looking others and yourself, and that's what you see, and that's what it is. And if you know that's what it is, and that's who you are, and that's what she is, or he is, or the event is, and the problems of the world is, you can go to the next level to be tangled up, to be violent or crazy or drink and all that, or drug. I don't do that. But to go away with some effort related to ego, because the ego wants to do something, and the acceptance is the opposite of the ego. But like the case of that lady, and even her, tears coming up when we had sex, there's something beyond that. We are vulnerable, but go with that vulnerability in silence, with acceptance, and whatever happens. So that's what I think I have had in those days. And what other things I can remember is there are certain scenes in my life popping up every now and then. So this is very much like in meditation. When you're meditating, lots of memories may flash back, but it doesn't stay just a millisecond, and it's like a picture of the scene or something. And I notice those when it happens, because the mind is calm, so you can go deeper into your unconscious, and that is the triggering of some event that you have in front of you, triggering that memory. And when I look at that memory, there's that silence, and just as it is, because I don't get tangled up that memory. Well, this lady's case, I got into it. That was such a strong experience that I felt that I was genuine in dealing with her in that relationship. But there is that acceptance, because you cannot do otherwise. It's the same thing, that it's good memory, bad memory, flashback, and then move on. So it's like the idea of nothingness. It's nothing there, but it's just that. And it's good enough. Good enough may not be the right word, but that's what it is. If you get tangled up, you get drugged into something, that's really become a delusion, but this is before the delusion, that you get into this craziness and drinking and shouting and all I mean, we may do that, but maybe we may not do that all the time. And that's part of getting us to be a more adult, to be continued. So I'm posting videos in series for the fun of it, because each segment has some point to make, and then I can switch on to the next so that there's a story. Hopefully building up or just confirming the basic one thing. So I was talking about flashback memory and not get tangled up, and that's the state that you are awakened, actually, because if you get tangled up and dragging and creating, why did it happen? I should have done that. If that's the attachment, and there's ego involved. But if you just observe, and like I mentioned about this videos, people comment, and that's the environment. We're not doing anything, actually, but we are doing something. We are doing to share the feeling, exchange it, and let that be. And that's good enough. Or it's not even enough that it's good. That you can open up your heart. And if that's what people are feeling, by watching my video, because I'm just talking whatever pops up, as if I don't care about the impact of it, but rather to be, in my term, just looking at myself sincerely and truthfully. And if that drives me to help me to be calm and quiet and reflect, mirror, reflect, and say something and let it pass by. Another stuff happens daily and that pass by. And that's what I have been doing, possibly, because people ask me, how can you do it for 17 years or so? And it's natural for me. So I'm doing what I do in this video as a natural, in my view, because it's a moment of stopping and looking at myself and saying something about it and put into, I don't want to call it the trash bin. It's left alone. I don't think it's a trash bin. It's left alone in my, how do you call it, structure, part of the memories down somewhere. And since I had reflected without the hang up as much, maybe there's some, and otherwise I may not do that. But with that reflection, which may have some element of wisdom, if there is, and that would stay and be a part of me to keep on moving in this path of life, massaging, and each of those different elements of the memories. I was talking about this lady, but I was posting a lady when 60 years ago or something with this relationship, and it's like a very pure, wonderful time. So, but don't get pulled in and get emotional, but rather accept. And then I posted the video, let's say, about the cicada, and that's right, wind chime and the cricket, and people respond. And I love that, because this is cricket or the wind chime or cicada is years ago, even a few days ago, or some are like 10, 15 years ago. And I know that, and I posted that, and some people respond about the cricket, the vibe, and I'm watching her, I think that was a lady posting on the video. So lots of videos, people can go and pick up and say something, and I respond. And that exchange itself has such a wonderful feeling that we have a common connection. And then I said, okay, I did. And then there's another one on the wind chime. Some said something else. And the same day, I hear those two comments and looking at it. Ah, there's another one. And then I may say, this cicada and wind chime and cricket, this resonance is like a resonance of connection. I don't know if I said that, but without even saying it, to share it and feel it, that we could share it, or exchange ideas. I didn't do that. I couldn't do that because I just did it my own. Now people can respond, and that remind me of the video, and I may not know the reason why I posted the video, but that kind of a sense, just listening to cicada, wind chime, and what was this? The cricket. It's the silence or the stillness speak. So in silence, like right now, the morning sun is going up, and we have this occasion of kind of like a random sharing. Let's stop here and maybe continue more next. So I've been posting series of video because I'm playful enough to try this different approach. So each segment had some message, and it has a thread, and then the connection at the root that I feel. That's why I can keep on going like this. And those two, the video one after the other, I'm doing, one after the other right now, but I have done one after the other for 17 years, perhaps. Not in this manner, but playful enough that I can see what has happened for those years into this, 20 minutes of segment of several videos. And being able to do that. And again, in the process, I'm also appreciating the moment that people may respond and can communicate. So this world, things can go crazy and is already crazy. Maybe it has been. We can still have the stillness in our mind to be. All the memories, all the events, in each of them, there's something fundamental, which is something we cannot describe. But when our mind is calm and quiet, we can retain or accept and connect and share to confirm the root of who we are. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's the confirmation that I want to keep having in this process. Whether you call it the meaning or philosophical description of what I do and why, maybe I don't care. I'll let those things to be. But I may still be doing it because it's interesting to say something about it. It's like a mirror. Yeah, that's right. One other thing that I thought about this morning is there's a word by Matsushita, Jiko Kansho. Jiko itself, Kansho is watch, so reflect. It's kind of like a self-reflection, or I call it mirror mind. And that's one of the four wisdom. I can talk about it, but I've talked about it. So if you're interested, four wisdom, and you can find my videos somewhere. So one of the wisdom is they call it the Buddhist big circle round wisdom or something like that. And Matsushita, I don't know if he knew about it, but he came up his own word as Jiko Kansho, which is basically the same thing, to reflect yourself and study. Kansho is like examine. And to know what's going on. And to be able to do that, he said the sunao mind, meek mind, pure mind, calm and quiet mind. And when we do have that reflection with calm and quiet mind, that's it. So people may seek for enlightenment and all that, but that state I call samadhi. No mind, no self. And there's acceptance because it's absolute. Because there's nobody accepting it. But to explain in the world, it's accepting everything. But there's no acceptance because just as it is. To be there, we have to accept. But when accept, it just is. It is as it is, life as it is, as we are, as it is. Then we can hear, see, smell, feel everything. And I think that's very good. Thank you. Have a good day.